Oh, there you go. Well, this is not the observatorium, but it's close enough. We were there actually a week and a half ago, but unfortunately, I guess the wildfire season has started, so it closed out the road, yeah, and we are not able to go there. I don't know if you can see from far away. It's a bit foggy today, but the observatory is there, yeah. I took some pictures, put them online. My car's over there, and as you see there, the road. Actually, they're doing some construction as well. But when we were coming here, yeah, there were digital signs on the road saying there's been at least there's a probability of being having a wildfire, yeah, of a wildfire starting, yeah. So we are in August, definitely. And yeah, I wanted to do this last week, but I was working on the video, yeah, that I wanted to launch, but unfortunately I don't have everything ready yet, because there are a few things I want to film and shoot out on the street, especially where I am in the desert, yeah. And yeah, there's still a few touches, yeah, final touches need to be done, but I was mostly working on that last week, yeah. But you know, since the restaurant, yeah, I didn't get to go to the park either, but since the restaurant, yeah, I happened to read some news here and there, yeah, whenever I could, yeah. What? We can go, pal. I know you like it very much. By the way, when we were there, it was amazing. That's why I put it, you know, as a lost theme. Yeah, I wanted to be there doing it, because part of it, actually, people are still there, yeah. They're still investigating. You can actually do a tour guide or guided tour in the facilities. I didn't get to go. We went there, I believe, in a weekend. I also didn't go on a weekend to do this because could have been, you know, more people. So I wanted a weekday or a day during the weekend, a business day, and it's also not a good place probably to do this. But we found a bunch of junk there, yeah, like old computers, Sun Microsystems computers. We found a lot of mechanical keyboards. I took one with me. I have it back at the hotel, and it works. Yeah, I tried it. It works. Yeah, again, another relic from the past that made me reminded me of I guess the times that I'm trying to allude to in the video that I'm making of 1999 or 1998, 1999 and 2000. But anyway, it's already going too long. There are some news I want to talk about, but probably we'll change places, yeah, because this is a bit windy. I was not counting on that, and the dog apparently wants to go somewhere. So I don't know if you can see him from there, but yeah. So we'll be changing places, yeah, or like the movie Trading Places, and we'll continue with our news show, yeah. Well, apparently the fire did start because it told us to get out of here. but that's what happened, yeah. I had to stop the video, but yeah, basically, you know, I probably should pay attention here. Get out of here. I don't know if you can see. This is, you know, definitely feels like the end of Lost, a mess. Anyway, let me see if I can get out of here. You know, the TV show. That's what I was trying to do, but I guess this last week's and this week's new show is not going well. Alright, is the other guy still there? No. Oh my god, there's a truck coming. I should be fast, or else we're gonna be behind this guy. So yeah, basically, you know, there was a lot regarding this this report, yeah. They also removed some kind of cyber security defenses, yeah, safety measures, yeah, because they're you know, they want to measure how well the agent does, yeah, and not to test the safety layer of the whole model. That was the idea behind it, more or less, yeah. Their argument, their reasoning, yeah. because they're not. That's another experiment, yeah. That's another goal, yeah. So you want to understand the underlying capability, yeah, before you can build effective controls around it, yeah. That's mostly what it is about. That part of the report, and that also, reminded me about the malware analysis. It's the same if you compare to it. You don't leave every security product enabled. You disable controls, yeah, even isolating systems, yeah, and deliberately allowing certain behavior to happen, yeah. So that's why, in malware analysis you have this kind of environment, yeah, because you're trying to understand, what the software is capable of, or even capable of detecting, yeah. So there's always that balance, yeah, in this kind of security research, yeah. So to have enough containment, yeah, to avoid disaster, but also enough freedom to be able to explore, yeah, freely, yeah, I would say. So basically, that is one of the sections. Sorry, I just gotta pay attention here because there's some people here. It's probably because of the fire. It says right there, peligro de incendio, yeah. But yeah, basically that was part of the report, yeah. But there was also another report, so Anthropic, yeah. When I finished reading the OpenAI report, I saw there was another news, yeah. I thought even there was gonna be the biggest AI security story of the week, yeah, of last week, yeah. But then Anthropic, I think it was the same day, they published their own report as well. And I was thinking, well, that timing couldn't be worse. And I was I gotta read another report, yeah. But actually, it's that they didn't really publish their report because they had the same kind of incident. They published it because the OpenAI's report made them ask, a very uncomfortable question to themselves, yeah, because they are the competitors. Because something similar have already happened to us, yeah, inside our own, evaluations, our own model, yeah, our own environment. So they went back, yeah, and they did a thorough review. I thought it was more than 140,000 evaluation sessions, something like that. And actually, that is an interesting number on the report, yeah, because they didn't assume already, they were safe, yeah. They assumed they probably missed something, yeah, and that is actually a good mindset, I think, in terms of incident response. Yeah, the incident response team should have. So when another company gets compromised, you don't immediately say, that couldn't happen to us. Yeah, they start hunting. Yeah, you start hunting. You ask, do you have the same exposure and all of this? Yeah. So definitely that was the right approach and the right mindset when it comes to building this report. Yeah. So they did exactly that. Yeah, and they found 3 incidents. Yeah. So in different models. Yeah, and in different evaluations. Sorry, I gotta take it easy. But yeah, one thing that I appreciated from it was that they didn't try to present these, as examples, of incredible sophistication. Let's say, yeah, sophisticated hacking. Yeah, they actually even said the opposite. They said that the models weren't really great at finding, 0 days. That they weren't really building advanced exploit, chains. Let's say. And then most of the access was just from basic security failures, yeah, as we talked in the past, of the weak passwords, of exposed services, unauthenticated endpoints. So I think that actually should make everyone more uncomfortable, yeah, because we spend a lot of time, talking about these AI-powered attacks in the other shows and in this quasi-show as well. And meanwhile, some environments are still vulnerable to the same things that even pen testers have been exploited for 20 years, at least from where I know. Yeah. So be careful. Yeah, it's a tight term. So it's still the OWASP top 10 all over again. Yeah. Because these categories in this type of exploit and vulnerabilities is exactly what a human would do. Yeah. What a pen tester, a human operator would do. Since we're talking about science terms here. Yeah, so that's definitely something that caught my attention, yeah. And obviously as well that unlike OpenAI, where the model had to discover a way out of the environment from the report, the Anthropic describes it, of the way it discovered these incidents as an operational mistake. So the environment still had internet connectivity, even though the models haven't been told they didn't. Actually, I actually laughed a lot at that part because, every engineer has seen something similar like that. Documentation says one thing, but then reality is something else, and it's the usual when it comes to this line of work. But obviously some changes are made, without documenting it, and then months later everyone still believes in the original document. It reminds me of Cisco TAC as well. Not only the engineering part, when I was working in the TAC, but also, for example, when they're devising and sending out an original proposal for a contract of a salary, and then we move abroad to a country, we spend all our savings, we get our place to live, and we take care of other business, so we establish ourselves there, and then when we get there and we are inside the room in the first day, we get a completely different contract, right? And they do obviously their mafia tactics, either leave and you just wasted your time and money, or you stay under our terms. But hey, that's another story for another time. Sorry, pal, I just got scared. I got you scared there a bit. Because I think there needs to be a lot more talk about Cisco. But anyway, not only the company, many other things too, like the studies I had back in Portugal. So basically, Anthropic was a very interesting report. I don't want to go much through it because I actually think and I recommend that people should have a read at it. And at the OpenAI as well. Obviously, I spend more time looking at OpenAI, reading things about it. I did link some links there, some interesting links at actual reports and actual discussion, and even about it from the OpenAI itself, from Anthropic itself, but other from Claude. This is what I'm talking about. OpenAI ChatGPT. It's one of the products, but they have several products using their models, but Claude, as well. We are out of the mountain, heading to the highway, Autovia. There we go, Almeria. Alright. Hope it will be not too noisy. So also from OpenAI, besides the incident report, I thought that would be the last of it, but apparently I also gotta be careful. There's speeding people here. Okay, so let me go. Thank you, pal. So they talk about Codex security, not that it was hacked or an incident report, but because they decided to release the security tool, but open source it as well, or they released already, but they open source it, so they basically open source their security scanner, and I started reading there. Even the person from OpenAI put it on the news combinator, on the Hacker News, and people started arguing something completely different as usual, because it's the Hacker News discussion board, discussion news. But actually they discussed if it was actually open source. I'll come to that in a bit. So first let's talk actually what about what Codex security actually is. So because a lot of people think they only read the announcement and they think it's just some tool to replace the SAST, and obviously it's not trying to compete with AppSec tools, or at least every AppSec tool, this Codex security. It's much different. Basically, Codex security is using the large language models of OpenAI to review code, to identify potential vulnerabilities, and explain why they matter, and obviously give fixes or possible fixes. So that is already sounding a lot like the AI coding tools, existing AI coding tools. But the interesting part of this is the workflow. So they are asking basically. Instead of prompting, it's becoming part of a developer's normal workflow. So you run it locally, you run it before a commit, or inside the CI, and then it gets the pull request, So this is just, to shorten, let's say, the workflow, or to make it more efficient. So, nowadays security engineers are doing this called the left shifting, trying to move you closer to development, find problems before production. This is the concept of it, and Codex security is just another attempt of doing exactly that, and then once again, what I appreciated from all of this was they didn't present it as some magical scanner, that obviously depends on context, it depends on oh my god, this car guy, I hope you can see that, just got an accident. This is also stopped, something happened, folks. We had an accident live in our news show, so it makes me a witness. Anyway, I gotta get back, I don't have time for this, okay? So basically, it's looking at the code. By the way, this is real, I'm not joking. Something happened over there. It's the first time I've seen a car going through one of these, So I noticed the Codex security wasn't trying to replace this existing tooling, I hope the guy will be fine over there. I think that is important, So we already got, for example, Sam Grapp was in one of the companies. I remember SonarQ, also Sneak. I happened to learn a bit of it some years ago. Checkmarks is one very famous on GitHub as advanced security tools as well. All of them do already a lot of things extremely well, So it's not necessarily trying to compete with this. I would see it more as complementing, So it fits somewhere else, Codex security, I feel, from what I gathered, because the first time I was trying out the tool, it's reasoning with the code, or about the code. Sometimes, static analysis is very good at finding patterns, but LLMs are often better, obviously, at understanding the intent behind it. So these two approaches are not competing against each other, as I said. They're complementary, and I think that's where the AI security tools in general are ending up, not necessarily as replacing traditional tools, but as complementing, working alongside them, That's basically it. Let me see, are you already arriving? By the way, we are still staying at the desert, which is close to this, the observatory is close to this desert, It says precaution, That guy should have been careful. Then, basically, that's the thing about the news, you can check out a tool, you can download it, try it out. I'm not sure if it's actually, the using of it is completely free, because I have a subscription, a Go subscription for OpenAI. I made the other AI as well, because I'm trying that out as well for a couple months, since I'm started actually working for real, not bullshit I've been doing the last 10 years. So Alright, we're getting back home to the desert. Alright, that was crazy, man. That car almost flipped out, or made a flip, Jesus. Anyway, so there was actually another report, So there was a report from IBM, so besides OpenAI and... Are you okay, pal? I'll put a bit of AC. I hope it won't affect the audio. But this is so besides OpenAI and Anthropic, there was another report from IBM, which was the cost of a data breach report. So I read it, not because I was expected to be surprised. It's not a technical thing, and it's also very marketing as I was expecting. But actually, it is one of the few reports that looks at thousands of real incidents. Oh my god, today is crazy, huh? So our shortcut we should take is closed. I don't know if it's about this fire, I don't know, we're already past this place. We went through the traditional route people take, which is all the tourists that come to the Hollywood land, Now we gotta wait for this to pass. My god, today is a weird day. Well, we'll be mostly at the hotel working, but so let's continue. So basically, this report's talking about AI-assisted attacks having an increase, 56%, compared to last year. I think that was what they were talking about. But it's a big number, So report is just not saying that suddenly, there's a new wave of attacks, AI attacks, or that the attackers have become, much more versatile, and well versed, in using AI. No, it's more about efficiency. It's more about how efficient, how more efficient the attackers are becoming using these tools. That's mainly the big difference from this report and many other reports. So a few years ago, someone had to write, for example, imagine a phishing campaign. If you have to write an email, you gotta translate it, adjust the grammar, research the target, create a believable story, put all the typos, scoring, all this, Obviously, if you can automate this, generate several versions of it, this is definitely much easier, much more efficient. So the barrier for entry in this kind of attacks, for these attackers, is getting lower and lower and lower. It's happening in many things actually. Even now in OSINT, for example, which I mentioned of it. It's the same. So those things in the past we didn't use AI, but it would have been very laborious. So it would take a lot of work. And now you can just automate, or you can just use AI to do all this for us. So in the other way, we can also use AI to protect against this. So both sides, I would say, they have access to the same technology. So this is what actually makes the report very interesting. It's talking about both sides of the coin. I would say. And the other number that stood out, obviously, is the average cost of a data breach. So it's almost, I think it was $6 million. So I think to myself, that's an average. So some organizations lose more, some others lose less. So the financial cost actually is just one part of the story, because we're talking about legal costs, the cost to operate the incident response, the business interruption, even regulatory, or regulation fines, the brand damage, which is non-monetary. So all these, or could become, all these, is very hard to measure, to track. So that's one thing that highlighted from it. And also, how organizations, are using AI inside their companies, So inside their security operations, This was another thing from the report that stood out to me. They said they're not trying to replace analysts, to help them. That's the distinction they make. But we know the other story that is sold, that is talked about, But it is definitely, a massive AI assisted, response, to breach, and an approach they want to take, But the thing is, that what was analyzed from it, and what was from the report, was that what they realized was most security teams are struggling because of lack of tools, because they already have the tools. And they're obviously struggling because of lack of time. At least that's the feeling I had when I was a SOC analyst. So too many alerts, too many dashboards, too much data to read it from, too many things competing for attention, If AI can remove some of that, even if it is slightly, a lot of the repetitive work, even that I saw. Cisco. So, by the way, I'm forgetting. There's a lot more to talk about Cisco. Maybe we'll leave it for another time. To actually investigate incidents that actually matter. Personally, that's what I think AI provides the biggest value. This is definitely we've been talking about for some time. Not replacing the analysts, replacing the worker as companies are dreaming of doing. So, reading the report, I noticed that identity also continues to appear again and again and again. So about credentials, accounts, authentication, privilege, none of that has changed, and we're talking about AI almost every week by this point. And meanwhile, attackers are still logging in and doing the same old, all the tricks in the book, and they are still very successful. That's something that always found very amusing about this industry. They get excited about all these autonomous agents, while someone is still exploiting the same bullshit vulnerability that has been existing for a long time, yeah. So technology changes, but human behavior takes a little longer yet again, yeah, as we talked before. Alright, we are approaching the hotel. This was not what I planned or had in mind, but you know, we gotta be consistent and deliver something, so we're not gonna wait a full week to get to observatory, yeah. So yeah, that's definitely some of the stories I had for, well, this week. I read throughout last week actually. Okay, we are arriving here. All the truckers are here. It's already break. Well, it is siesta time now. Oh no, siesta time has passed. Yeah, I'm still. By the way, I gotta get up with the fucking times. Cause. Are you okay? Sorry, pal. I'll give you some more. Yeah, did not go as we planned, but I gotta get with the times and schedules in this country because they have weird schedules. Apparently they don't know what it is working. But anyway, yeah. Basically, oh my god, I need to rest my legs. Hey, Kaimak. Hey, look, say hello. Say hello to the folks. Say hello. But yeah, basically, you know what, man? It's already too long. Those are good reports, this is what I wanted to say, yeah. And they're definitely showing, you know, that AI is intertwined already with security engineering, yeah, in companies, yeah. I didn't really saw that in my jobs, but, you know, definitely there are some showcases. And even last weekend, yeah, with some, you know, the hacking conferences and, you know, also mini conferences, you know, some talk, yeah. Even assembly, yeah, there was assembly, or at least I saw on YouTube popping up. They uploaded the videos. Yeah, so definitely, there's a lot of talk about it, yeah, and a lot of deposition, yeah, and a lot of, I don't know if talks, but at least some discourse about it, yeah. So that was definitely one of the things. The other thing about the tool, because usually with AI, besides creativity and besides, you know, general, you know, tools for using language models, yeah, large language models, I finally started testing something security-wise, yeah, or security purpose, yeah, and I really like that tool. And you know, I saw the news, so I figured I'd talk about that. And the last report, you know, because you know, some interesting numbers, you know, something stood out definitely, as I said. You know, it's some there are some, you know, common type of reporting, yeah, but definitely something, you know, to have a quick read, I thought, yeah, so I shared as well, because I saw other news, yeah, like 0 days on SharePoint, if I'm not mistaken, many others, but again, these are kind of separated, yeah. I try to make it like a theme, yeah, not only the, you know, the theme of the presentation, but also the topics that I talk about, to make it more or less interconnected with each other, and you know, have the whole theme and connected with the presentation as well. This time around, things didn't go as well as I planned, but yeah, we'll see what I'll do next week. I will try to finish this video, as long as many other things I have to do, even for the company, yeah. And yeah, and I'll try to catch up with some news, yeah, this week. Even check out what was discussed in these conferences, yeah. So there might be something juicy, yeah, something interesting, yeah. But basically that's it. We just arrived. I need a beer. I gotta be honest. With all this talking, but also all these deviations from the original plan, yeah. It felt like I was in wacky races, like I'm trying to win a race, and you know, it didn't help me that much, monthly, yeah. So yeah, basically that's all. Yeah, I even gotta hold the phone because apparently this broke. And by the way, my thing broke as well, yeah, while we were recording. It's not just abandoning because of the fire, but yeah, basically that's it. Yeah, many things, fire, accident, yeah, this was crazy today. Yeah, anyway, I'll be signing off, yeah. That'll be all. It's very interesting pair of news, yeah. No, could have done a better presentation, I'll admit to that, but at least you got the links there and you can follow up on what I've talked about. Anyway, see y'all